Black people. I had my first day today at a new job, and basically, without going too far into it, my job is to schedule care for people that need it. A lot of this job is going through applications for people who want to give care. I learned today, if it is a name that does not sound white, we are to move it to the completed tasks. We then note your application as moved due to name standards. Now, it's my first day, so I ask, what does that mean? I'm black, I'm very light-skinned, obviously. And she says, And I said, you mean like our names? Like our names? Because I thought it was like a brand standard, like, no, it's literally our names. So I just want you to know, and everybody else to know, this 100% happens, and I have 122 screenshots of people, their names, their phone numbers, and their email addresses, and the reason why they weren't hired directly because of their name. Then I have this. I didn't even make it 1 hour. After I got my heart rate to stop spiking, I went and found the owner like I planned and asked her directly, super calm. She didn't deny any of it. She admitted that it's, fucked up. She apologized. I told her that I don't think this is going to be a good fit because this is not something that I would be willing to participate in. I made sure to keep it like professional and not scary, like not threatening. So I have a phone call with my guy later this afternoon. I'm gonna go ahead and let him tell me how to proceed. I know that this happens. It's just that I personally have never experienced this type of training. If they have a name that sounds like this or that's jacked up, we don't do it because we have standards. Like, guess we're going on a journey, and eventually we're gonna say who it is.
And this is gonna come with casualties of good people, not deaths. Next would be the names, and this is an interesting thing because ultimately it is subjective to you. A difficult name may not be tough to me, but it could be hard, and it could go vice versa. So here's what we're gonna do. Going forward, we are not gonna drop our standards in the rare case that somebody can type a brilliant paragraph and push them forward. And this is gonna come with casualties of good people, not deaths, but them not getting hired when they probably would have done a great job. But what it does is it keeps out the people that may end up causing us, our client, our time, our energy harm down the road. In order to be effective, rules cannot be subjective.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are doing amazing. Thank you so much for clicking on this episode. I really do appreciate your love and support on this channel. So I just happened to come across this video of this woman explaining why she had to quit her job after being instructed to reject people's application with black sounding names. And this is an experience for many black Americans. Your resume can be flawless, your experience can be unmatched, your skills can be top tier, but still, if your name sounds black, you may never get a chance to prove it. I want us to watch these videos together, guys. I know there are so many people who come and say this is just a propaganda and black people like and love making everything about race and racism. But this is actually not a myth, but it's the reality that's still happening in 2025. I want us to watch these videos together, guys. Every clip and every stitch that you'll be seeing on our today's episode, credits belongs to the original creators of these videos that you're seeing on your screens. Remember, this video is for education purposes, and I really want to know what's your thoughts or what's your take on this if you're watching this video. So let's just dive right ahead and we'll come back with more commentary.
So y'all, have y'all saw the video going viral of HR putting black names to like completed files without even looking at their qualifications? So y'all, have y'all saw the video going viral of HR putting...
Basically, HR is telling their staff that if a person's name sounds ghetto, can't hire them. I mean, just is what it is. I can only imagine the person that's reading the job applications like Raekwon, nope, Shin, nope, Montrevi, nope, nope. And that's literally all it is. Is, your name sounds ghetto and made up, it sounds black, you're not getting a job, bro. It's crazy. And people called me corny for naming my kids regular names. They were like, but my kids have resume safe names. So it is what it is, bro. Tough titty. Damn.
Y'all, It's the fact that he showed up to the job interview after he changed his name just to cuss them out. See, this is my kind of vengeance. Shout out to Phil because he had posted this story about a black man who got a job interview after he changed his name on the resume from Dwight Johnson to John Jabrowski. Now he's suing them for defamation. Now the genius in question is seen here by the name of Dwight. And according to CNN, he's now launching his defamation suit against a Detroit hotel. Now, in his claim, he's stating that the hotel had offered him a job interview after he changed his name on the resume. Dwight Johnson had filed this lawsuit roughly around July 3rd. Now, between January and April, Jackson, who's 27 years old, applied to multiple positions at the Shinola Hotel in downtown Detroit, including a role in reception, according to the lawsuit. And on the website, the Shinola, I hope I'm saying that correctly, is a luxury hotel. Jackson's attorney provided CNN with a copy of Jackson's resume, which details consistent employment, including previous roles as a front desk agent in the Detroit Marriott Westin, Book Cadillac, and the David Whitney Hotel, which used the words luxury and luxurious to describe their prospective hotels. Now, after getting no response to his initial job application on April 24th, Jackson applied again, making one significant change to his application: his name. Spoiler alert, once he changed his name, he had multiple interviews in the same week. Now, Jackson's attorney stated, to be denied a job in 2024 in your hometown for the color of your skin goes beyond dollars and cents. It goes into the psyche of a person. This is where the story gets hilarious, because he did, you guys. He showed up to the job interview, and it stated here that when he got to the job interview, he had revealed his real identity and expressed his disbelief that he was not given an interview initially because his name appeared more traditionally African American. Now, shortly after Jackson underwent the interview process, he was informed that he was no longer a viable candidate for the position. Go figure. Just for reference, this study by the National Bureau of Economic Research showed that black male and black female names receive the fewest callbacks. Unfortunately, you guys, we live in a world where name bias is still a thing, and that's never going to change until we do things like Dwight did and call these people out. But even more so, we need to do what he did and show up to the interview and give these people a good tongue lashing. Just to be clear, I'm pretty sure the people who was involved in that interview process probably no longer have jobs.
Give your child that black or ethnic name, because if them people can pronounce Skolsky, they can pronounce Attila, okay? And what's so annoying to me is that there are people that literally will not hire people named Jaquavius, even though they meet all the requirements and necessary functions for the job, just because their name is Jaquavius. Look at that story about that person that applied for that hotel job with his ethnic name. That hotel did not want to interview him, and then he reapplied with a name like Chad or Annabelle, and they called him back, and now I think that person is suing, as they should. These employers out here will look at your name and decide to throw your application in the trash. And to be quite honest, I'm not naming my child no Annabelle, okay, or Sarah Lynn, just so they can get a job working for some races that probably shouldn't be a boss or an employer in the first place, because they discriminate against people based on their names. I'm not doing that. I'm naming my child something affirming. And yes, it is an ethnic name. But why should I have to change my practices, my cultural practices, for my child to be able to exist in society? This is what is crazy to me. If you're an employer that's discriminating against people based on their name, we need to round you up and lock you up, and you need to earn your way out. You should not be hiring or employing people at all whatsoever.
Have some personal responsibility. It's your responsibility to get a job. It's your responsibility to be able to perform that job. And racism is already illegal. So nobody is legally allowed to not hire you based on your race. And no one cares what your name is. I've never heard that being a thing, but okay. If somebody cares about what you look like and what your name is, that's their problem. That's not your problem. You can either do the job or you can't. And to say also that black unemployment is more than white unemployment is a really weird and honestly rude thing to say towards black people, since y'all say that there's more white people in America than there is black people in America. This comment is a victim mentality. Can you do the job or can't you? And honestly, some people just don't like you. Shocker. Why don't you just toughen up a little bit and go out and get a job, baby? Like, that's kind of what we all have to do. I've interviewed for jobs that I don't get. Many. Like, it's not because I'm white. They just didn't choose me. If I were to go around and say, I'm not getting hired because I'm a woman, it's like, how do I, there's no way of knowing that, first off. Like, unless you directly ask the person, you don't even know why. I hate to say it, but this comment's honestly stupid, and I don't know a nice way to say that.
So one of my study participants shared how she started putting her middle name as her first name on her resume and job applications because her first name was considered too ethnic and she wasn't getting opportunities because of it. But when she put her middle name as her first name, she started to get the calls for the interviews. This is where psychological safety starts, even before the interview. Because if a company declined to interview you, even though you're experienced, qualified, all the things, just because you have an ethnic name, you weren't going to be psychologically safe there anyway. So in my view, you dodged a bullet. But these are some of the challenges that we face in professional spaces.
Yes, if you have an ethnic sounding name, you have a lower chance of getting an interview than if you have a European sounding name. This is a fact that's been proven. There have been countless studies on this. It's unfortunate, but it is the reality. So we really have to think about it and how we address that. I was personally told by my advisor in my MBA program that I should use a shortened version of my name when I start applying for jobs. So I did take his advice and I use a shortened version of my name in most of my applications and my resume. Currently, I actually go by the shortened version of my name at work still. Some people don't agree with this because they feel like you should be proud of your name and you should use your name and move forward with it and don't let other people's biases really impact what you do in your life. But I'm about my checks, so I decided to go this route because I want to get a job. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a proud Nigerian. I don't think putting a shortened name on my resume makes me less Nigerian or, ashamed of my culture or anything like that. I personally do what I have to do to get that check. I'm a firm believer of fighting when you get inside versus trying to fight from the outside. When I get in the position, I make sure I work hard so I can get in the position of power so I'm able to hire the people that I believe are qualified for the position regardless of what their name or ethnic background is. So tell me, what do you think? Would you change your name and put a different name on your resume, or would you go loud and proud with your original ethnic name?
Yeah guys, so that is what happened, and actually these do happen. And for those people who are like, DEI initiatives, like why would you hire someone just because of their skin color? Most people thought that DEI meant hiring unqualified black people, but that was not the case. The reason as to why DEI was there is, to help in such cases or with such biased companies. There's been actually a study that was done in 2003 to prove this. Bertrand and Mulinathan show resumes with white-sounding names get 50% more callbacks than identical resumes with black-sounding names. And it's not just in the past. Recent studies shows that back in 2021 to 2022 confirmed the bias still exists even with diversity training in many companies, where now the new administration came and said that we don't want anything to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so many people are happy when the new administration said that we want all the companies to roll back on DEI because we don't want that. There is no way that people can be hired just because of their skin color and they're not qualified, which is not true. And this is how actually propagandas and lies are sold out there to people, and people tend to believe instead of them going ahead and doing their own research. And it's quite sad seeing how so many grown-ups are ignorant out there. There's also cases where many black job seekers feel the need to change their name to sound more white, or use nicknames, or leave cultural reference of resume just because with that in the resume they may not get hired, which this should not be happening, especially in our today's world in 2025. And each and every time that I'm seeing things happening in America, I keep on saying like it's kind of the American history is repeating itself. And the reason as to why this is happening is because so many people are actually ignorant, and so many people always want to call or term black Americans are they always want to play victim. There is a lot that people say when black Americans try to call out the injustices that are actually being done to them till today. If you ever gone to an interview or somewhere that you may need to be interviewed, not necessarily for job or maybe for something else, you get to understand that before you go for these interviews, you have to send your resume first, and for someone to call you back, of course they have to have gone through your resume and loved what you do. But in a place like the United States of America, you find that most companies, like with resumes that have black sounding names at the top, maybe those envelopes never even get to be opened and you've gone to an interview here, like sometimes they may be like the next person, and sometimes they actually may call you by your name. And this has been the cases for, you know, many Black Americans, where they never get to callbacks, or maybe they might go to an interview and just because of their skin color, no matter how much qualified they are, they might end up not getting hired, and another person who is of this color might get their chance even when they're not as qualified as they are. And the saddest part about this, like in the country of the United States of America, is that you find to see that most people believe in these stereotypes, and people get to judge you even before you represent yourself, even before you talk, just because they've had some stereotypes out there about Black Americans, which is quite unfair. And research has also shown that many employers unconsciously link Black names with lower competence or lower status, even if you have the exact same qualifications as a white applicant. And people want to come here, create videos and say this is not true. Black Americans like complaining about everything. Black Americans are lazy and they don't want to work hard. While you might even lose your job just because of your skin color or just because of your name, even when you are even more qualified than the other applicants. Just because of their skin color, they might end up getting the job and you might end up being left out. And you also have to understand that this isn't just about one interview missed. Over time, it means lower lifetime earnings, slower promotions, less access to high-paying industries, and on a personal level, it chips away your confidence and your sense of belonging in professional spaces. So, you know, I keep on hearing people say that, oh, if I go to America, I know I would make it in life. I don't understand why Black Americans are always complaining. I don't understand why when they have everything out there, when there are so many jobs out there for them, but they still don't want to go and push themselves. But you see what is happening. Like, for some of us to understand why Black Americans are the way they are and the way they do things and why they do things as they do, is you have to understand their history. You have to understand how the system has made them to be like they are. In as much as there are so many Black Americans who are out there that are really doing well in life and who've really grown in America to be great people, they have big companies, they are wealthy, but there is also another big percent of Black Americans that is actually being affected by the systematic racism that is still taking place to date. And this is also where you find that and understand that it's very hard to close the wealth gap between Black Americans and white Americans, because discrimination starts at a very first step to job employment, not leave alone job employment. Even in school, there is a lot that is happening. You might not be called to this school even if you've passed as you've passed. And this is why they actually came up with affirmative actions, whereby even Black Americans don't benefit much from affirmative actions like people of other races. So if you're a Black American and you're watching this, I would love to ask you a question. Have you ever had to change your name, your voice, or even hide part of your identity just to get a job? Tell me your story on the comments section. And if you're a Caucasian person, do you work in a company where they have to tell you to, you know, or instruct you to keep aside applications with Black sounding names? I'd really love to know. Thank you so much for watching up to this part, and until the next episode, make sure to subscribe to this channel, give this video a like, and bye.